Hi there. Welcome back to another episode of Harmonic Leadership. Brian here. Glad to be here with you again. We're going to turn today to page 13 in the book. It's fairly early on in chapter 1 in the ebook version. And we're going to talk about capabilities. In an earlier video, I had introduced the Harmonic Leadership Keys, which is the capability model that also serves as the outline for the book. But we're going to take a couple of steps back from that. I wanted to introduce it early, knowing we'd get to it again. But before that page is this page that you're seeing, page 13 in the book, where I talk about some of the standard core leadership competencies that are fairly commonly associated with leadership around the world. So every organization will have a leadership competency model of some sort or leadership capabilities model. And then that other video, I explained that competencies are kind of the building blocks to a broader, higher level of capability that allows you to exhibit all of those collective competencies underneath that capability. And when I've examined different leadership capability models around the world, as I've worked with various leaders and various organizations throughout the world, and I've created a number of these in the roles that I've had in my career, I decided on the 10 that you're looking at here on the screen. And at top, there's a word cloud. Integrity, communication, business acumen, inclusivity, ethics, accountability, results focus, interpersonal skills, organizational skills, and courage. And I did a word cloud because some of the phrases are longer, but also to highlight some of the ones that really stick out as I feel as being extremely important. So integrity, ethics, and courage are the largest type. I fully expect that in all leaders who I work with. And if those are lacking, then the leadership is going to be lacking as well. Inclusivity is very big as well. In the world we live in today, leading through the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion is absolutely critical. And within the harmonic leadership philosophy, as it says on the book in the subtext, leading with inclusive, mindful caring. It is a key core capability within the harmonic leadership and the philosophy behind harmonic leadership. The others you see are more common, more standard: business acumen, communication, accountability, organizational skills, and interpersonal skills. So they're a little bit smaller. I did skip results focused. It's in the medium-sized category as well. Obviously, as a leader, we need to focus on results, regardless of the type of organization or association that we are leading. We expect the group itself to find some sort of results, and that can be many different things depending on the work that you do. The guide underneath there is a little assessment, the Core Leadership Capabilities Assessment, where you're simply asked to rate your capabilities on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest capability on each of these 10. And then once you rate yourself on each of them, just add up the total, and you'll see a total out of 100. So you'll find on many of the assessments that I have in the book, they're fairly simple. They are self-assessments. So you're simply rating yourself, considering yourself, and most of them add up to 100. Not all of them, but most of them add up to 100. So you can see basically a percentage of capability. And by doing this and by really digging deep and thinking about how you truly are on each of these capabilities, how am I on integrity? Do I always show integrity in all aspects of the work, or am I falling short in some areas? And if so, give yourself a lower score. By doing this on each of these 10 capabilities, it can give you a guide on how to develop, on what to focus on in order to develop your strengths to become an even stronger leader. In the previous video, we talked about that portrait of a great leader. And I ask you to create an illustration. So as you're going through this, you can tag on to that activity by saying, okay, that great leader that I illustrated, how would they be scored on this assessment? And how am I comparing to that? And where can I grow so I can reach that point where I can be considered a great leader? So it can serve as a guide on where to focus. So I'll invite you to either pause the video now and do this assessment, even if you don't have the book, which is fine. I'm doing these videos so that everyone has the opportunity to develop as a leader. You can just freeze the screen here and do this simple assessment. Zoom into the screen if you need to be able to read it. Or if you have the book, it's great to do it in the book, and that way all of your information is captured in one spot, or you can do it on a spare sheet of paper. If you have the ebook version, obviously, you can do something like copying and pasting into a Word doc, or just fill out your scores in some sort of app, and you can keep that as reference material. As it says in the bottom, every leader has growth areas that can be developed. Keeping focus on strengthening the areas with the lower scores can help them to be developed over time, so you can become an even stronger leader. We all are in growth mode all the time. No one should score themselves as 10s across the board on this, I feel. I certainly don't score myself as 10 across the board on these because I'm still growing, even at this late stage in my career. I know where I need to work to get even better. And I like to think that we can always get incrementally better. So even if you're extremely strong and everyone recognizes that, wow, this person is strong in this area, that's still an opportunity to say, well, am I perfect? We're never perfect. We can give ourselves a 9. Feel free to give yourself a percentage or a decimal point as well. Oh, I'm a 9.7 if I'm really, really good in this area. And that still gives you that perception of room to incrementally grow, to get even better. Those 0.3 of a point to grow in your career. After you complete that, then you can reflect again on the harmonic leadership keys that I introduced in a previous video. I wanted to spend a little bit more time on here. And again, these are what I consider the next level of capabilities for a leader. So on page 13, these are and I titled them core leadership capabilities. These are kind of the baseline, what everybody needs to be considered really, really good in their leadership, to be considered great in your leadership, to be worthy of someone painting a portrait of you at some point as their ideal great leader. You can embrace the harmonic leadership keys, and this enhanced set of capabilities will take you to that next level where you are perceived as truly being great. And as I had shared in the previous video, this also serves basically as the outline for the book. So you also have the opportunity on the next page, page 15, to do an assessment of yourself on these harmonic leadership keys. So to what level do I heighten performance by aspiring to achieve goals? And you see the subtext there as well to provide some guidance on exactly what that means, the relative competencies it takes to perform that capability. And again, be honest with yourself. Give yourself that circle of 1, 2, 3, up to 10. Again, keeping in mind that, am I really perfect, or do I have room to grow? And feel free to create, if you want, some hash marks here in the middle or some decimal points, if you want to give yourself somewhere in between these numbers. This is for your benefit, your reference, to look back on and say, okay, I feel that I'm here now as I progress through this leadership journey, through the time that I'm spending in the leadership program that I'm involved in, or the time that I'm spending reading the book and really absorbing the book and doing the activities and reflections. You will see yourself grow. So these two assessments are ones to come back to throughout the time that you're going to spend with this content and say, okay, I intended to grow in these areas based on my initial assessment results. How am I doing? Come back and say, I think I could rate myself higher. So feel free to come back and rate yourself higher and make a date saying, on this date, I feel that I've grown from a 5 to a 6 or a 5 to a 7. Or an 8 to a 9 if it's one of your strength areas. But growing through a period of time, you can see that movement by doing that activity on this assessment. In terms of interpreting the results, as it says here on the bottom, the two highest scores are strength areas. You likely have natural abilities. All of us as leaders have some areas that we're just naturally better at based on a number of things, based on our core temperament and personality, based on our experience, based on the roles we've had, how we've learned, based on our previous development opportunities, previous classes, previous mentors, previous opportunities that we've had to grow through our career. So we're going to naturally have some greater abilities in certain areas and some lesser abilities. I like to call them challenge areas. As we see here, the two lowest scores are challenge areas where you have the greatest opportunity for growth. We all naturally have some areas that we struggle in. And by admitting that honestly with ourselves, it gives us that opportunity to grow. Then as it speaks here at the bottom of page 15, the scores in the middle are average areas that we can develop over time. And hopefully you'll find that the information within this book will provide you the tools needed to grow in these areas. I will say briefly that there's a couple of schools of thought in developing our leadership capabilities. One school of thought is look at what we're lowest in and really work hard to increase those, at least to get them up into the mid area. Another philosophy is, hey, I'm strong in these areas. I'm going to focus on enhancing these strengths and not worry about those areas that I'm weak in and find some other way to compensate. I'm going to try to not get too preachy here, but there's problems with both of those. The problem with only focusing on our very low scores is that we're not building ourselves to be well-rounded. Even the areas that we're in the middle of, even those areas that we're strong on, we can develop them as well to become even better, even stronger. So I like to consider it as being a balanced development activity. Those who say that they're only going to focus on their strength areas and make them stronger, what they're missing out on is the fact, and it is a fact, that those challenge areas that you have, those weaker areas, are going to cause problems in your leadership. It's going to be the reason that people get frustrated with you as a leader. It's going to be the reason that you fail in certain areas of your career. So by taking a blind eye approach to it, you're always going to struggle in those areas. So consider it as being a well-rounded tool. And that's why I created this content in such a way that it can develop the whole person in all areas of your leadership. So those who you lead will look at you and say, wow, that is a well-rounded leader. They have strengths in all of the areas that are in the important areas of leadership, which is hopefully what you're going to find the Harmonic Leadership Keys encapsulate. So instead of focusing on just the highs or just the lows, I invite you to focus on all areas. If you do want to start by focusing on an area or two, that's absolutely fine. But if you're going through this in sequential order within the book or within the leadership program you're a part of, it's naturally going to happen. You're going to get to those strength areas and make them stronger. You're going to get to those weaker areas and build them to the point where they're not detracting from or degrading your leadership. So it's not causing challenges for those who you are leading. So feel free to just follow the flow of the book and you will naturally be addressing each of these items. So I wish you the best in discovering this about yourself, taking these assessments. I stress again to be completely honest with you. You're likely not being asked to share this with anyone. I know in the leadership programs that I teach, when we debrief this, I say I never ask anyone to share their results, but if you would like to speak to some of the ahas that you gain, some of the insights that you gain through going through this process, I would love to hear those. And thankfully, a number of brave people have shared, this was very enlightening. I see now that I have growth opportunities in these areas, or I really examined that and I recognize it now as a strength, but I'm going to work to get even better at it. So hopefully you'll find that to be the case for you as well, where it is an enlightening exercise where you do gain some insights out of it, and you can better plan the rest of your leadership development. Be well.